Hey guys, and welcome back to Emotional Integrity 101. This is my third shot at it, and I just today finished a blog about fear, and since this is all fresh in my mind at the moment, I figured I'm going to make a little recording about it as well. As you probably now get it, I will always deal with some type of emotional situation, some type of a dilemma in a way that I'm going to help and hopefully can make you understand it better and possibly at that point get capable to work these emotions and work with them and have them incorporated in your life instead of, trying to avoid and be afraid of them for whatever reasons at this point this has occurred. So basically, I was going to talk about fear, and fear is obviously one of the biggest things we all know is emotional and very, very much affecting us on many levels. I believe that, the idea on how fear initially was set up to affect us was purely a survival means, a mode of our body to realize there's some danger, there's some type of event happening that's going to make us potentially lose our lives or sustain some significant damage. So we are very much born, I believe, with the capacity to feel fear. Even if we can't speak it, say any word, articulate what we're feeling, the fear is there, and it affects our system on a very dramatic level that we do want to either get ready to run and get away or do some other type of evasion or a maneuver that will help us get out of the situation. Even as babies, even as little kids, this is a very, very commonly encountered emotion, and it needs to be more, in my opinion, dealt with and worked on. It cannot be possibly put in a corner of a room and left there to fend on its own. We have to teach and get better at communicating about our fears. I believe this is one of the core problems we currently have and see in so many ways, even in adult life, of mismanagement of fears. But that's a whole different level of a subject I would probably not even get today to address. The biggest thing I wanted to possibly convey today is that our body learns in time how to deal with fear. Just like we learn to speak, like we learn to identify things by visualizing them and giving them a name, our system also absorbs events that repeatedly inspire a fear or that emotional cascade to go down. And that's where it becomes very tricky. The initial feeling is very much the same, but we will start to associate certain feelings with that feeling, which then become, manifested ways of how we, in the long run, can feel the fear, and also possibly how we learn to cope with that. And this is a huge problem. It's, if you want to imagine a computer program, if we do not properly set up these processes in a young age that will help us deal with fearful events and cope with them and handle them, we will run a big problem down the road, because everything that we let in our system that lets that emotional fear run around and, act up inside of us is built and built to a huge triggering event that no longer can be distinguished if there's really a life or death situation, or if we are having just imaginary problems that have been so many times triggered that we now live in a constant state of fear. This is a huge problem, and I'm not quite sure why this is not something people would be, even by now, haven't taken more seriously. I don't understand it. In my opinion, it is not only, understanding this process, gives you some tools and powers to change what's going on, but also, it's literally your way to recovery and releasing some of these fears as truthfully not even existing threats that you possibly learn to subconsciously carry around with you. You're not aware by now that that's what's going on, but you nevertheless sense that ongoing pulsing fear that something is not right, something does not ever feel like you are safe, which is, in my opinion, the other core emotion, if you want to call it, though it is the more quiet and calm version of our state of being. But I think the most, again, the fear is the thematic for today, and that's what I wanted to speak about, because if your imaginary computer files got corrupted at a very young age with lots of fear triggers, which in our busy life, imagine you're just a little baby, a little child, even with the most meaningful, good, spirited parents, it is hard to discover that a child is sensing some type of fear and then properly pay attention to that. But that's what happened. It happened, and it's getting worse by the year, by the decade, by the way we lead our lives, that our childhood makes us absorb subconsciously many fears, from being abandoned, from being misunderstood, from being, who knows, like it translates into later on being unworthy and not good enough. All those fears that we absorb by simply running down that cascade over and over again, that something frightens us and there is no one telling us and comforting us and saying you'll be fine and doing some type of coping with you till you get it on your own. We don't learn that. If you are a person who had the luck to get that conveyed to them, then that is great. But from what I hear and how people are functioning nowadays, it's a dysfunctioning, because we have this huge problem with fear and not knowing where it comes from, not knowing how to rid ourselves from it. It's there. We can express what the feelings are that go along with that fear, whether it's anxiousness or really being scared of something. But I feel our bodies have been, in a way, set to a level where they idle on fear. Fear is always there. It's always part of a level where we are stimulated on a constant basis, because we didn't discern and learn early on what is it that you truthfully should be afraid of versus all these external overwhelming events that inspired a fear and a reaction out of us that was beyond our ability to cope. So it got pushed into that corner of your mind and sits there now. I believe that has a lot of, groundwork done for many people suffering from addictive behavior, because one way or another, it may be so overwhelming, the feelings we harbor in there that are unidentified and that are uproaring and making us constantly feel in a state of imbalance and discomfort, that's what feelings are. They don't come and slap you in the face. They linger inside of you. They constantly shift you into a situation where you feel you have no control, you have no power over anything. You're just constantly in that vice grip of these feelings. So if fear is a large portion of it, there's no running, there is no escape, there is no normal mechanism to get rid of it other than understanding the mechanism, how these fears might have been incorporated in your way of thinking, in your way of perceiving your environment, and start taking them down one by one in an effort to truly release them and make peace with the thought that at some point I might have been very much in a bad place and not very well cared for, which many people call that it's our inner children that are still running the show. But nowadays we can revisit these times, we can revisit what exactly happened, and once you gain that level of conscious understanding of yourself, you are enabled to make a different choice. That is literally all you have to do. You have to choose to no longer run on that imaginary idol of fear. Of course, it applies for many other feelings that we have somehow come to believe we have and are subjected to, and in some way or another feel like they're victimizing us, perhaps. But it really is just truthfully misunderstood ways of handling very healthy and normal reflexes and intuition that we are born with perceiving, and that became distorted and that became put into some kind of context that are not meant to be in. And so the good news is you can change this. You can change this. I am not talking, of course, about some severe trauma or any kind of event that might have happened to some of you. And I honestly want to tell you that if that happened, I am so sorry, and I do believe that would need more help and possibly support from professionals and an outside group that can help you cope and deal with that. But it's not by far the majority that we have experienced that kind of stuff, and still we are afraid to the bone of all kinds of things that imaginary may happen to us, or that now our mind keeps thinking, because we have that fear stage permanently induced. So again, I urge you to investigate that, to change the way you've come to believe, how you're stuck with a certain set of your mind or how you operate. You're never stuck. If something doesn't feel right, it's for the purpose to make you, inspire you to wake up and make it into something that feels better. You have all that power. It doesn't require some outside light bulb hitting you or anything crazy like that. It's a very simple, though it has to be a persistent process of changing your belief system, changing your perspective, changing what you once absorbed into your system as being the truth and making it into your reality. And there's a big gap in many instances that you are very capable of closing and finding your own path from, I would call that, the ruins of your childhood experiences. Because isn't that the truth, that many things start so early and we have no ability to interfere or do anything about that until we are becoming independent, functioning individuals that are no longer subjected involuntarily to bad situations. Even if they were originally meant to not hurt you, people weren't aware that that's exactly what it did. Early childhood separation, early training your child to be on his or her own, I grew up through this. I have the biggest fear of abandonment, and it took me years and years of understanding why was I so afraid and doing so many odd things in my adult life to not subject myself to, let's say, abandonment by another person. And the underlying fear was that I was left as a little baby for nights and nights endless alone, to force me to become independent and sleep through the night. That's what society back then thought of, and that's what they implied on the children, and the result being just huge anxiety and fear when it comes to being left, and which is clearly something a parent should never, ever, if possible, make their own child experience. And yet it was done through the line. All of my same age friends and family have been through the same. And then you wonder, why are you constantly in panic? Well, till you realize where that fear is coming from and what happened really that only now feels similar, if anything like that occurs, you are not going to be able to get away and out of that cycle. So this is just an advice from me to you, and trust me, I have had my share of fears and still have some of them, but managing now 150% better than what I did before, simply because of the fact that I realized it's a lot of false beliefs. It's a lot of stuff in there that has settled and has not been properly filed in my little filing system, so that I could discern whether or not I was truly in an attack or scary situation that required drastic measures of fight or flight, which is the typical fear ingrained reaction we all have. Okay, this video is long again. I'm sorry I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to be more concise. So hopefully that I will learn in time, and I will see you guys soon. And think about, perhaps there are some things you can also find out about yourself, and if you're really looking in the right places, and investigate what you feel. Like I said before, question everything if you do not feel right. If there's something that's not good, that you don't feel comfortable with, and it's clearly not related to an outside event that is obviously justifying your reaction inside, question it and dig. Go dig. And go read my blog at emotionalintegrity101.com, and it'll have another article on there as well. So I'll see you next time when I have another little time frame to go over some more things. Until then, good luck, and keep working on your feelings, keep allowing them in, and don't wall them out. Okay, see you soon. Bye.